With respect to the roadmap, Ambassador, pursuant to the roadmap presented, the administration is poised to remove Sudan from the state sponsors of terrorism list, facilitate high-level visits, exchange ambassadors, ease sanctions, and advance negotiations for debt relief in exchange for Khartoum meeting its own obligations under the Comprehensive Peace Agreement. United States leverage with regard to Darfur would be reserved to lifting sanctions that cannot be removed without legislative relief. In your opinion, does Khartoum care about the remaining sanctions, and realistically, what leverage would the United States have with regard to Darfur if the administration pursues this course?
First, a generic observation, Congressman. The less a regime deserves the mantle of legitimacy, the more they desire it. And those actions all raise into question the legitimacy of the government of Khartoum. So it's beyond whatever economic benefit or other benefits, it goes to their legitimacy within Sudan and outside. Second, as I noted earlier, I am concerned about being too anxious to provide incentives. Remember, the Comprehensive Peace Agreement was agreed to 6 years ago. When I was Special Envoy, it was my view, after meeting with the leaders often in Khartoum, meetings that drew the criticism from Senators Obama, Biden, and Clinton, that they had already made a decision at the time they signed CPA that they may be having to give up the South. I've noted that all the difficult issues that matter have not been resolved. We have a long way to go beyond the 6-month period when separation will become official before we know if those commitments will be made. And I also know from my various positions in government there's a bureaucratic momentum. Once you start the process, again, to cite President Reagan, trust but verify, we have to see more.
Thank you, Ambassador. In November 2008, Ambassador Lyman participated in a conference hosted by the Embassy and Sweden and the United Nations Association on the responsibility to protect. And according to a meeting summary, he suggested that Darfur would be excluded from obligations inferred from the responsibility to protect because the crimes were committed prior to adoption of the World Summit Outcome document in 2005. What is your position on this, and does the United Nations have a responsibility to protect marginalized populations in Sudan in the event that the regime in Khartoum decides to crush all remaining opposition following a vote for independence in southern Sudan?
I think the general responsibility to protect preceded the Millennium Summit Outcomes document adopted in September 2005. Furthermore, I think when you look at the genocide in slow motion that continued after the adoption of that document, it is important for the United States and the international community to step up to its responsibility. Let me note, I'm loath to ever disagree with Ambassador Princeton Lyman, who I have the greatest respect for. But in this case, I do think we have a responsibility. I've noted that as recently as 2 weeks ago, Khartoum was involved in bombings in the south. They've been involved in bombings in Darfur. They continue to engage in coordinated attacks. It is less intense only because there are fewer targets of opportunity. This should be a concern. It's not delinked from the north-south, nor the difficulties in the Nuba Mountains. We have to be more robust, and one of the disappointments has been that those violations of past agreements have occurred, innocent lives have died, and there's been a reluctance in the administration to hold to account and publicly criticize the perpetrators of these atrocities.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your service again. Nice seeing you after 20 years, and I yield back the balance of my time.